through how I get my full finished, ready to go drum loops for Hardgroove. And first what I'll do is create a little MIDI region and just put in 4/4 rhythm. I like that. And the next thing I'll do is usually chuck some saturation on it. I'll keep this either neutral or low. High just starts to distort it quite heavily. This is a free plugin. And I quite like that it's punching through the mix a bit better now. Maybe I'll even lower the volume a little bit. And then I'll always chuck an EQ on the kick just to get rid of a bit of that muddiness. So I'll put it at about 40, just to cut off those really annoying frequencies you don't really want. And because I'll be putting in a higher kick, I'm going to cut it at around 1000. And then I'll usually just move on to the high kick and make sure that they work together quite well. It still punches through quite heavily. And then I'll usually just move on to the high kick and make sure that they work together quite well. So I'll duplicate it down just because you can hear this is a bit softer, just adds a bit of those highs though. I don't think it needs that much. I think it does need saturation again, just to push up the volume a tiny bit, distort it. Now it's a bit too loud for me, so I'll put it at -9. And again, EQ it, get rid of those lows. But this time, because it is at my high kick, I'm going to get rid of quite a lot. So let's say 500 Hertz. And I do have a little sample loaded in here already. And again, I'll just draw in my pattern and then do everything after. So I know where I want my claps. You always want them on the second kick. Now that's quite nice. I do think it needs some EQ. Cut out a bit of the lows. You want really the midsection punching out. And again, just before that, I actually might add a saturation. And notice I'm putting it below the EQ. But I'll draw in my pattern first. Let's just do that. No need to make it any harder than it is. I'm going to keep it simple. And then I'll move on to a closed hi-hat, which I've already put a sample in here. And again, what I like to do is copy down the same pattern. And then I like to add some cool little funky bits in there. So I'll usually draw in one on the kick / clap, shorten it and lower the velocity to whatever to your liking. Again, copy it over, lower the velocity even more to the next beat. You can see it's already coming up with a bit of a groove. And then either you can do a really small low in velocity hit right here. It's quite nice already. Or you can just do without. What I might do on this one is something that I like to do is if it's feeling a bit too like normal housey for you, I'll put a bit of bit crusher on it. And I'll downsample it by 3 or 4 times and just reduce the mix here, maybe up the resolution. Gives it a bit more, what's the word, like crunch, I guess. And we have a little tom sample in here, and you can see the waveform doesn't start till right there. So I'm gonna already shorten that. And it is a very, very long one, so I'm going to reduce the length of it by quite a lot. And here we can get really funky with it and just start to add some very interesting rhythms in there. Let's see how that sounds all together. So I might add some saturation just to make it punch a little bit more. And maybe some more some EQ after that. Now we have our perk here, and I already have a rhythm in mind. You can see on this last one I lowered the velocity, and on these two, which are again on the same beat, I'm just going to lower it slightly. Maybe even up these two, because it is the main hit that I want to really punch through. I'm liking that already. And we have another perk over here, again really long, don't want that, want to hit it on the nail right there. I'm going to lower this a little bit. I'm going to bring all the volumes down once again. Yeah, so I'm liking this already, but I think I want, before I do the snares, to move on to these loops. So always at first, bring them in time with your BPM up here. So you can see this is 142, and you can see that it'll be perfectly in time. Now you can see it's quite a nice perk loop. I kind of just like this part right here, just because I'm not a big fan of that. And you can already start to feel the groove a little bit more here. I don't think this one needs too much. I think it definitely needs some EQ. Just to bring down a bit of that low end and bring up a bit of the high. And the way that I like to go through these is pretty much I drag in a bunch of top loops, percussion loops, that sort of thing. Once I've got this basis going of one or two of my own perks, maybe some toms, closed hi-hat, open hi-hats, claps, kicks, and then just see what works and see what doesn't. And for me, the most important part is, you'll see in a second, bongo loops right here. This is the main one that I chose at the moment, these two. What I'm going to do is literally sidechain an EQ right here. This is a nice bongo loop that does work quite well. Another perk loop. Works perfectly well. I'm going to EQ it a little bit just because there was quite a bit of lows. You can see that this part's peaking up, so I do want to lower that up again. Here's another loop. From here, if you think it sounds good, there's no need to adjust it. And then from here, it's really just adjusting things to your liking. And then of course, last but definitely not least, is potentially one of the most important elements, and I like to put them below the kicks, is a ride loop right there, simple. That's just using stock plugins. And then the last thing you can do is add in a fill like this, which is a little bongo loop. And there you have it. All of this will be in my Patreon, all downloadable. You can get all of this. The main thing that I would say is really just make sure you have a good bass with your kick. It is the most essential part of the track by far. So just make sure you really get that right. Once you have that down packed, there's really nothing you do to screw it up. It's all about putting cool loops in there, getting these essential parts right. These ones that I did by hand, maybe not even, you don't even really need to do these perks by hand. You can pretty much do them using just loops off Splice or whatever other sample packs for house, techno, even non-techno and house stuff. You'll really be able to get a really different sound every time just by using more and more creative loops. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one.